Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Aftermath Hours, a weekly podcast of Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported website about video games, the internet, and everything that comes after. Aftermath is, for the moment, fully reader-supported, so if you like what you hear, you can subscribe on the website. If you don't have a ton of money right now, we'd really appreciate it if you could review the show on Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. I am Nathan Grayson, and today I'm joined by Chris Person.
Hey guys, what's going on?
And Gita Jackson.
What's up? I'm Gita.
It's Gita.
And today is I wouldn't say exactly somber occasion, but it's a time of change, as this is the final time that we're going to live stream our recording of this show. Yeah, do y'all want to go into a little bit like thinking behind that?
Well, the top line one is we have a coworker in Australia, and it's really hard. Like it's like, you know, the Queen of Hell. Like every time the seasons change, it's just like we lose Luke for a while, and we have to like, you know, he has to get up at like just already early and even earlier, and that's one thing. I don't know. It gives us more flexibility with our guests, which is actually clutch, especially since a lot of them are international as well, and you know, it's an easier workflow for us. Personally, we love doing, like, it's a pity because we do like the conversational parts of it. But for the most part, it is just a matter of, like, top-line convenience with, like, international and particularly Luke.
Yeah. And with the producers that we work with, also, it gives them a little bit more time to edit the episode. So if you are listening, and, like, the majority of people are listening to this recorded, if you are listening, like, expect, like, a nicer sounding podcast a little bit. You know, there will be a little bit of a change there, I think, for the better. It allows us to accommodate the timing of more guests from more parts of the world, makes it so Luke doesn't have to wake up at the demon's hour, do this without breakfast.
It's like fucking 5 in the morning. It's so
early
for
him.
Yeah.
It's awful for him.
It's
so
not
every
conducive.
every time Luke has been on here live, just know that's been at a personal sacrifice to his sleeping. Like, we like doing the stream, but the reality is, with all of our schedules and one of us being in Australia, we got to make a little bit of a change.
Yeah. And also, sometimes there are connection issues, and those too will go away.
That'll be sick.
It'll be sick, to not have people. Well, I guess it doesn't make sense if you're listening to it recorded, but there are occasionally connection issues on Gita's apartment.
Yeah, it's the worst.
But yeah, you know, in the future, I'd like to do something with the Twitch channel, maybe some sort of like kind of relatively quick and breezy like news show or something like that.
Yeah.
Every week. But, you know, that's all still in the ideation phase. So yeah, more of a standard podcast format. And also I think that will allow people who are not me to take the reins a little bit more and do their own thing with it.
Yeah.
But I think in general, not a lot is going to change, just beyond the fact that this will all be kind of done ahead of time instead of live on Twitch.
I will say there is this other element of like when you do something live versus when you do something pre-recorded, there is a bit of like comfort. Like it is a slightly more stressful thing to be perceived in real time versus being perceived in the future.
Like, as a person with attention issues, I would really love to be able to crochet or knit while we do this.
Well,
which
acoustically,
is like
that might not work. That
was really bad. I used to file my nails while I was doing the podcast, but it's so much easier for me to concentrate on what people are doing when I'm doing something with my hands. You know, like it's one of those awkward things.
Mm-hmm.
You do. I mean, it's a trade-off. There is something to having an audience, having like the ability to react in real time. Obviously, like
I like talking to chat. You know,
I do like talking to chat.
Yeah.
I do like talking to chat.
Yeah, and I like just the general appeal of like having a kind of community flashpoint every week. You know, for people from the Discord to come hang out.
Yeah,
that sort of a thing. And so I do want to find some kind of a substitute for that.
Yeah. And if you are coming here from the Discord, which a lot of our listeners do, we are still going to source all of the mailbag questions from the Discord for the pre-recorded podcast. So don't worry about that you'll still have a chance to ask us questions and have them answered. And we are curious, like, throw it in the feedback and suggestions channel in our Discord. We're curious if there's anything you want to see from us now that we won't have this, like, weekly, like, check-in with the community. Like, we like you guys. We like you guys a lot. So we want to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely.
And also just like ideas that you have for the podcast, things you might want to see more of, like, you know, what do you enjoy about it? What do you want to see kind of dialed up? Anything like that, just feel free to, again, drop it in the Discord. We are happy to listen and perhaps, you know, change the show to accommodate. But with all that said, I think now let's get on with the meat of the show. specifically some news from this week. I think the biggest item being that the Steam Deck, in my opinion, wonderful little handheld, has been hit by geopolitical issues and AI, and is now going to cost a whole lot more. Actually, a little bit of because this part didn't make it onto the site, but well, wait. Okay, so first, let's go with the prices, because it really is eye-popping. So the 512 gigabyte version of the OLED Steam Deck, so the kind of entry-level one at this point, went from $549 to $789. And the 1 terabyte version jumped from $649 to $949. So close to $1,000, which is a huge amount of money. Then if we're talking other territories, it varies, but it is similarly just a lot of money. And especially compared to back when you'll remember the Switch 2 came out and people were oh, just get a Steam Deck instead. More affordable, bigger game library, etc.
That's what I said.
You said that.
That's what I said. I was right at the time.
Sorry, not people, person said.
No, this happened also with my former colleague from Motherboard, Matt Gold. I kept being like, should I get a Steam Deck? And he's like, you have a Switch and all the games that are on your... But the thing is here, and this is why I'm waiting for the Steam machine, I'd love to play some of the games that I have on my Steam account with my husband and not have to buy them for another platform, which frequently happens to me, especially with games that I am platform agnostic. I don't care if I'm using a mouse and keyboard or a controller for them. It's annoying. It's just annoying to have to buy everything again for the Switch.
Wait, who said that you don't need a Steam Deck? They were wrong.
Matt Galt said that. I'm sorry, Matt Galt.
Man, I'm sorry, you're wrong. That's incredibly wrong. You've never been more wrong. I love you guys so much.
Is a wonderful
the Steam
device.
Deck is totally different. I'm sorry. The thing about the Steam Deck that is so sick, and I not to gush too much about Valve's hardware, but I am a huge fan of Valve's hardware because they make the correct choices. The thumb pads are game changing if you're trying to do desktop stuff, and there's just a ton of shit that's only on Steam. I'm sorry. There's a bunch of stuff that is there's 5 million little games that only come out, and guess what? It's most of the time it's pretty perfect there. And community, community controls are so good.
Just little tiny quality of life mods for something say Dwarf Fortress are really important to me. Also, there's teeny tiny things that the community have put together, the totally essential mod to make sure that all female dwarves have beards. I don't know if the game is really playable without that mod, so it's having access to that is I kid, but the Nintendo store is its own separate storefront and economy, and Steam also extremely is its own separate little storefront economy, and Steam kind of gives you more you can do with your games.
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way. I did that whole City Bike piece where I got the Switch 2. I've used it for 2 or 3 games, to be perfectly blunt, but mainly because I use my Steam Deck every day already. And there are people who have the opposite because they have those games on a Nintendo ecosystem. But for Nintendo exclusives, it's great. It's also lighter, which is slightly nice. But I don't know, man, this is a real bummer. This is because it was a really stabilizing floor for handhelds. Yeah,
and so a lot of games now I think run out of the box a lot easier than they used to, because PC used to be considered a very fiddly platform. You'd get something for your PC, your hardware configuration wouldn't be right, or you'd have the wrong drivers, or you'd have all these issues. Whereas the Steam Deck, the appeal of it in the PC ecosystem is it just works.
Yeah.
You grab a game, and oftentimes it already has the correct settings, or you've got to maybe mess with the resolution a little bit, and then you're great. I've been playing Pragmata on the Steam Deck. Awesome.
Yeah.
Runs perfectly out of the box. No muss, no fuss.
I do want to bring up this 2018 take from 404 Media's Emmanuel Mayberg headline. The best Steam machine is a really long-ass HDMI cable. How do we feel about this?
Wrong.
Bullshit
Incorrect.
Wrong? Okay.
No.
That's also pre-Steam Deck. The Steam Deck hadn't come
when
out
was
yet.
this?
This was 2018. So he's talking about the proposed Steam machine model that, he was talking about several Steam's trying to make this happen.
Well, no, because I think, okay, maybe. But for me, it's more just Moonlight. You got to get on Moonlight, man. Moonlight's so good. Moonlight, guys, so good. Moonlight works so well. I agree with it in the sense that by HDMI cable, they mean Ethernet cable. And then a weird thing that plays Moonlight. in your
Yeah.
house, like
Yeah.
an NVIDIA Shield or something like that, because that
Like
shit is
something like
pretty
that.
seamless when you get it going. It's like,
I do often think about just putting like my PC on big picture mode and attaching an HDMI cable to split it off to my TV. Like I do think about that sometimes because I want to be able to take my Steam games just away from this box that lives on a desk.
well,
But
speaking of, this is getting to something I've been working on for the last month, which is I've been working on a BC 250 build. I won't say. I mean, it's out there. The people know this, but it's like 2/3, maybe like 3/4 of a PS5 APU. So basically, like the binned APUs for the PlayStation 5 got turned into a crypto mining rig. Comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM. I think you can get them for like $170, and then you have to do probably the most elaborate PC build I've ever done in my life. I've had to print a PC case out. I've had to print out CPU risers. I've had to do like individual wiring, PSU mods, stuff like that. Still cheaper than getting any PC though, and it can handle 1080p gaming really, really well. And that's these situations that more people are going to get in. Like, the Ein Thor is a better deal now if it stays at that price, which probably won't, because x86 on ARM is in a much better place than it used to be. And so I think you're going to see a lot more Chinese companies using cell phone hardware, basically, get in on the space in a more aggressive way, just because there's like, I saw somebody be like, get ready to install Linux on a Dell Optiplex and fucking, put an Anbernic. And sure, yeah, fucking emulated GBA games on an Anbernic is a great idea, for a lot of people. But it's a bummer. It's a bummer that our wet president has made it so that this is happening, and that our evil tech overlords are doing this for data centers that probably won't even be built. And, because they decided to pinky swear hard, like, all of Western Digital's hard drives, all of the fucking RAM. It makes me mad every day.
Yeah. Well, it also, like, I saw people online talking about the even wider ramifications of this too, that as consumer hardware becomes more and more expensive, then people will have to resort to, like, essentially renting their hardware, more and more interfacing with the cloud, subscribing to these things. And that gives them less, flexibility, less, like, they don't own anything anymore. We don't own anything anymore. Like, if the idea of consumer hardware basically goes away due to price, then, like, that gives the aforementioned tech overlords even more control over what we do and don't do.
Yeah. I think that's the gamer's nexus. Oh God, what is it? There's a vaguely reactioning the you will own nothing kind of. I think that was based on like a Davos deck from like 2012 or something like that. Yeah. But the idea that, like, the sharing economy would make it so that people don't own individual things themselves. Everything is rented, and part of that is sort of born. Part of it feels a little tinfoil, but some of it has been borne out. I don't think they're good enough to do the game streaming thing as of yet, and I don't think it changes the underlying economics of it. But it's not good. Like,
I mean, especially with like multiplayer games, which I think are what a lot of people play now. A lot of like co-op and stuff like that. As soon as you have some latency on input, then you also have latency everywhere else, and it just becomes like a weird kind of balancing act.
No, it's not good.
But I think that oftentimes when there is no other option, people settle for not good. And that tends to be the problem. Is because, I already saw people even like in our own comments talking about this, about saying like, yeah, I can't afford any hardware right now, but surprisingly, like a phone plus, a little controller works well enough.
I've seen that too.
Like, at least I can play something.
Yeah, there's a bunch of games that I've thought maybe like my tiny iPad mini and a controller could probably cobble together or something. I don't own a laptop, which is becoming increasingly a problem for me, but I've really enjoyed not owning a laptop after being chained to a work laptop for like 6-7 years straight, essentially.
Yeah.
You just long for the computer to be in a room that has a door that can close and that it can't leave after using a computer for work like that. But it does make it harder, one, to like get my little Sims games on when I'm flying to LA to see my in-laws or something, or work on writing projects on the flight or on the go. And it is surprising how much you can do with an iPad or a tablet at this point. It's like not great, but I think most people have been used to being gaming in suboptimal conditions for a long time. And I think also looking at the prices of things, most people are sort of hunkering down, understanding that things aren't really going to change for a while, and contenting themselves with suboptimal performance. The so-called, I hate this phrase, the so-called PC master race is all about the idea that you can create a machine that can have optimal perfected performance. But that is just like, everyone's kind of dealing with their own kind of fucked up Ship of Theseus cyber deck now, you know? Like, that's what it feels like. Everyone's making their PCs out of scrap metal because that's all they got.
I mean, it's literally looking at one right now over here that is made out of PETG and, you know, things that cobbled together. But I will say the phone thing, though, is important because I think that, like, I mean, one of the big reasons why you don't get a lot of this hardware on there is just it's ARM. It's fucking, like, it's not compatible. I will say, though, I do think that Mac is going to come out of this looking really good.
They already are.
They already are, because the MacBook Neo is
the Neo.
It's so funny. You look at their announcement for the MacBook Neo, and you can tell they weren't expecting it to be as big a deal because they gave kind of a shitty, like it felt like it was in like an overflow room.
I didn't start seeing television ads for it until after I'd heard it sold out completely. Like one of those. Like, it's sort of like the publisher for Heated Rivalry not printing enough books for the television show. Like, they just like, what are you doing? Like, didn't you know this is going to pop off like crazy?
You open it up and it's so funny because it's literally just a big slab of aluminum, a giant battery, and then what is clearly the inside of an iPhone, and it works. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing: can you play the fucking Sims on that? I saw a picture of the Sims running on that on the Sims subreddit, and I was like, okay, well, you've just sold 500 million of these.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It literally, whatever you can play on, like, I mean, it's not M series; it's like what A4, A16 Pro, slightly lower, something like that. I don't want to be unspecific, but like, Apple's chips are really good. Like, that's the thing. And like they run for like 12 million years. Like, a single charge on my MacBook is like one of the wildest things. But yeah, I mean, like, I think you're going to see a lot more things running on a Snapdragon Gen 8 like Pro. Version 2. Right. You know, like, you're going to see a lot more stuff running on cell phone hardware because it's what people have.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess, what do we think, like, the longer term ramifications of that will be, especially for games? This notion of, like, that A, things are going to be running on maybe hardware that's not as powerful as like a PC, and B, that perhaps people, in lieu of even that, keep their old hardware for a long time. So, you know, they're running the same PC or the same consoles for a decade plus.
I'm thinking about this in the context of The Sims. For The Sims 3, they wanted to go balls to the wall, we're a fucking video game, right? They wanted to be open world, no loading between locations. You know, Sims have autonomous schedules and will just show up and walk around town based on their own interests and personalities. That game chugs even on modern hardware. It is difficult to play without, you'd get in, if you did ever run into a loading screen, like the initial boot up loading screen, I timed it once. One time it was like at 90 minutes for me. It was ridiculous. So the switch over to that, because they know that EA, the team that makes The Sims, knows that people that are not big PC gamer types play The Sims. They decided that one of the goals for The Sims 4 was longevity, and that meant a lot less resource intensive. It's gotten more resource intensive as more packs and expansions have come out, but it has had much longer longevity because it runs on more types of machines. And that comes down to art style, just being really judicious with reusing models and reusing meshes, going for a cartoonier graphical look, and then also making graphical fidelity less of a big part of the game, not trying to go for graphical realism, but developing a painterly style. I can see a lot of different teams, like, obviously, a lot of different teams want to eat The Sims' lunch all the time. Right? I'm thinking about Paralives that just came to early access. It's an independent project to try to create a life sim game. But also, like, The Sims sells a fucking ton of copies and people still play it all the time. And you can't fault EA. EA is a terrible company. All of these big developers are terrible companies. But you look at it and you're like, these are incredibly strong financial decisions that gives them preparation to deal with how their games are going to go into the future across multiple divisions. And like, The Sims has definitely created a model of just like, the game can look shitty. As long as it's fun and people are interested in the things we're making, the game can look shitty, it's fine. It just has to be optimized for the lowest denominator. I think optimization for lower level machines is going to become a huge priority. especially for these larger developers.
I also think this is like what I was trying to think of earlier was Win Later and Game Hub on Android. Like you can get, I mean, like if you have like a really powerful cell phone, you can get fucking Fallout New Vegas running on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that's
Yeah.
crazy, man. To me.
That is
Like,
crazy.
it's not even just like the, you know, a matter of the hardware. It's just that like compatibility has gotten really good, which is actually like one of the more interesting things that like Valve was working on with the Steam Frame was like FEX compatibility. Like they understood that like putting stuff that runs on x86, like traditional x86 64 PC hardware on ARM devices is like a game changer in a lot of ways. And I think that that is what you're going to have more of. And it may not be enough people, but like, I don't know. Like people, I think people are like, well, because like, you get people who are like, I don't know, you know, normal people want to do normal stuff. It's like, yes, those people will play Switch too, but like there's a non-zero number of people out there who don't mind following a tutorial, especially if that shit's just on the Google Play Store. You know what I mean? Like, and it works on your like Galaxy. Sure, yeah, they'll fucking play Black Myth Wukong at like 12 frames a second in like 480p. They'll do that shit.
Yeah. No, also, The Rock Reaper says, are we backwards working ourselves into the Sonic worse graphics, smaller games, better wages meme?
Yeah, it's becoming
I was thinking about exactly
economic imperative, right? Like,
yeah, not like a Catholic thing. You know, this is literally like, what choice do you have? You have a gun to your head because Sam Altman's killing your computer. What are you going to do? I don't know. I got a cell phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, also, like you have the piece that Luke wrote back in, I think, 2024, which was basically that. I want games with worse graphics, and I'm not kidding. Where he was talking about like playing an older Call of Duty, like a 15-year-old Call of Duty, and being like, yeah, it looks really good. Like we could have just stopped there. Like there was not really a need for the graphical arms race beyond, you know, having selling points for future iterations of games that were fundamentally very similar to older iterations of them. And so like there's definitely room for this to also lead to better things, or at least lead to things that are not quite as, I guess, expensive and also taxing on developers and all of this. But of course, the games industry has a lot bigger problems than just like the need to make use of cutting edge hardware. I don't think that's really, like, a lot of it is mismanagement and stuff. But still, like, maybe this could lead to a future that isn't in some ways worse.
Yeah.
I fear that what's actually going to occur is like a huge crash for the industry and like a tons of economic devastation. I love being optimistic. I love having hope for things. I just, based on the history of the business side of this medium, history tends to repeat is what I'll say. I've been thinking about this since the fucking Destiny live service ending announcement. They just released a developer talk blog post that outlines all the cool shit they're adding to the game right before they shut it down. I mean, not shut down, but it's like not going to be the same game.
Yeah, they switch away from being a live service update model.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like it's just, you see that and you just think about like the economic realities of what it means to be a major developer at this point in time. They put basically every developer in a pretty dire spot. So the intense brain drain and people changing careers and people just losing their careers that we've seen in journalism, like it's already been occurring in game dev. And my fear is that it's going to just start getting a lot worse as fewer and fewer people can afford to have these play these huge, really expensive games that are really expensive to make that run the best on really expensive hardware. It's always kind of been a luxury hobby, and that's true for better or for worse. And like right now it's for worse and it sucks.
I will also add to that, there's another element of this, which is just that, like, as Apple Cider points out, and many people have pointed out, like, there are countries that can't afford gaming consoles in a traditional sense. It's like Southeast Asia, Africa, like places where gacha games are fucking huge and where you're going to, so it's like, get ready for the century of MiHoYo. Like, get ready for get ready for that shit to just be, like, insufferable forever.
This is like an economic opportunity for a continent like Africa, which many different African countries, when I did that UN talk like a couple of years ago, I met with an ambassador from Nigeria that was there because many different African countries are trying to, if we're going to go in there and rob them of their natural resources and conflict minerals, like they might as well have a hand in the end product that is being created from those things. Like mobile game development has become a lot bigger in Africa also.
Yeah.
And I think we are going to see cases in which developers are already trying to, like you said, like the MiHoYo verse is very popular. It makes tons and tons of money, and people are trying to chase that because everybody has a cell phone. I don't have a cell phone that can run any of those stupid games, but a lot of people do. And I think, like, the purchasing power, we're entering the fucking American century of humiliation. Like, this is just another facet of it, right? The American century of humiliation, where America's needs are deprioritized, will probably also lead away from video games being these epic, resource-heavy cinematic experiences, because we were the country that had the computers. We were the country with that purchasing power. And now different countries in different continents with different kinds of purchasing powers are going to feed their money into this economy more vigorously.
Yeah, I do wonder what happens to like other sectors of the US games industry as like the AAA element of it like kind of, fades from view. Because on one hand, you'd think like, okay, that's more opportunity for like indies and for smaller developers to, I guess, like take the spotlight. But I guess also like if the US games industry shrinks in general, then are people like spending less money on it? Are there less opportunities for indies? And like, does it, as you say, just like kind of shift to another sector entirely where it's things like, free to play game developers kind of ruling the roost. Yeah. And like, of course, you've got Roblox. Yeah, obviously making a ton of money, that kind of a thing.
Any country that has robust arts grants are going to eat our lunch, right? Like the system Canada has set up for arts grants for video game development. Like many different other European countries also give grants to artists. We've looked into whether or not we can get grants for local New York like reportage and stuff. So sick. And it's like unclear because there's no money from the government going to the arts. Like that's just not happening.
Well, and also, I guess like you look at kind of, for example, Steam, and like how much of the infrastructure of Steam was built around AAA developers, and indie developers just happen to have benefited from that.
Exactly. Yeah. Xbox Live Arcade is more of the reason why indie developers took such prominence, like a game like Meat Boy took off.
Yeah, early on, definitely.
Yeah, early on. But Steam does not have that hit maker or breaker. Steam isn't suddenly putting those games into people's living rooms that possibly have never thought of a game before. That said, I also have started meeting people in like normal non-gamer types. This really cool person I met at a party who now I just really want to be her friend. She is this person, I started telling her like about playing games because she also plays games. And then she told me like, I really love narrative heavy RPGs, but I really only play indie games. And I think that is like a moral position people are starting to take, as well as an aesthetic one. She's just like, the games just feel more authentic to me. These stories feel more authentic to me. And they're also smaller and respect my time more. And I thought that was like really interesting. It doesn't mean that like, I know we've talked about this on the podcast before. Like, I know indie developers find it so frustrating to hear like, oh, indies will save the industry because like, with what money? How are they going to do that? Like, that's like, there's a big infrastructural questions. I know, speaking to many different indie developers, that the money that getting people to invest in their projects, even if they have a good track record and can like pitch them really well, getting people to invest in their projects is also becoming more difficult. But that said, like I think the people who really, really, really like games, especially people who have not been slotted into the sort of gamer culture pipeline, they are just going to go to what game feels good to play, regardless of who makes it. And if there are fewer bigger games, then they're going to be looking at AA and indie experiences. Like Expedition 33 Clair Obscur was like a huge like surprise for a lot of people. Because it is kind of like a AA experience. Like Alan Wake 2 is... Chris and me have often said that like Remedy really is like a AA studio kind of punching above its weight.
I mean, I was going to say, I feel like both of those games had AAA budgets or something close to it. So I'm not sure if that's an entirely apt point of comparison.
I would say that they are not AAA. But
I mean, in terms of studio size, probably not.
Yeah.
But in terms of the money that went into them and like having investment, an indie studio, as we more traditionally conceive of it, could not have made either of those games. They would not have the resources or the manpower. Like I think those are like right on the edge of AAA basically. Whereas like, yeah, I think that definitely some AA games or some games, like a lot of hits recently have come out of nowhere. But even then, I think that increasingly what you see is like the out of nowhere hits are closer to indie than AA, and they're like, for lack of a better term, friend slop. Like there's a new popular friend slop game every fucking 2 or 3 weeks. And yeah, again, I think that those are the types of games that have benefited from the infrastructure that Steam made. Because, you know, you're talking about Xbox Live, and that was one era. But the current, like, you know, there are thousands of games coming out every year. There are hundreds every week. That's down to, like, Steam providing a means by which people can make money off of it at scale. And even though a lot of games don't succeed, that's sort of on them. But that infrastructure was built, at least at first, with AAA developers in mind. And like a lot of other studios and types of game have benefited since then. And I guess where my head is going with all of this is like, okay, if everyone recedes from the AAA industry, or if that kind of goes away, then do these opportunities that indie developers had to kind of benefit also kind of slowly go away? Like, does Valve stop caring about, you know, all of this and move on to something more mobile based or whatever? Because ultimately they're a company that cares about money first and foremost. I mean, they're making a ton of it. Like, these are all just hypotheticals in my mind. And this is like looking down the road, you know, 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But if AAA gaming no longer is really a thing due to all of these issues with hardware, then how does the games industry transform? And of course we can't know. But it is interesting to think about because there are all these little things that we don't think about in terms of how we ended up where we are today and which games get made and which ones don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's unknowable. I think Nintendo will still fucking kick around, though. I think that, like, it's going to be fucking impossible to wrench Nintendo's place out of this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think a lot of indies, like, it's become easier to port your game to the Switch too also. Like, I know Sectoria is now on the Switch too, and it's like, for a lot of people, that's their intro into it. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But it sucks that this shit is expensive. And it
really does.
I want Sam Altman to do things I can't say on this podcast.
Don't we all? All right. Well, let's move on to something good then, because both of you have had a lot of positive things to say about I Love Boosters, which is the new Boots Riley movie. And yeah, I don't really know anything about it, so tell me.
You would love it. You would have so much fun. PJ, if you're listening, PJ, you would have so much fun in this. Okay, imagine this. Keke Palmer. Mm-hmm. Just imagine that. Give yourself 30 seconds to just think about Keke Palmer. I think everybody needs that.
I'll see the movie.
Yep, there you go. That's all you gotta know.
It's a lot. Chris and I had this conversation in Slack while I was writing it up. It's Boots Riley's first movie. A lot of people's first movie is like everything you've ever thought of in your life because you don't know if you're going to make a second movie. You can see this on first albums. You can see this in first books. And what is nice about this being Boots Riley's second movie is it's not a revelation. It's not like he's broaching brand new ideas that I've never heard of before. No. It's a lot of the same theoretical stuff that is in the first movie, essentially that communism is good and then capitalism is bad. But because it's his second movie, he's just having fun making a fucking movie now.
So much fun.
It's about, Keke Palmer plays a fashion designer named Corvette. She is currently squatting in a chicken shop, and her day job is working with a group of boosters called the Velvet Gang, who target the stores of fashion designer Christine Smith, played by Demi Moore, just being the absolute worst woman on earth. It's fantastic. She's having so much fun. I'm so glad she was in this movie. And they boost clothes from her store and sell them at discount prices. And from there, it really just becomes a story of solidarity and essentially just trying to teach the audience what dialectical materialism is. Yeah. There's a literal machine that serves as a device for Asa Gonzalez to explain to you dialectical materialism. There's honestly, imagine this. A beautiful woman with bleached eyebrows furiously vaping who cannot stop talking about theory. Did I describe many people's bad dates in Bushwick? Yes, but also a character in this movie.
She's wearing like an Oakland shirt that is like, it just says Oakland. This is the most Bay Area movie I have seen.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Yeah.
And like, it even goes down to like, there's a bit in it. I mean, it's a very Bugs Bunny. I called it Black Marxist Cat in the Hat. You know what I mean? Like, it is... Yeah. first off, Demi Moore, God bless, she gets to fucking be in this and this. You know, whoever her agent is, great job. No notes. Like, to go from being one of the hottest women out there to having the most amount of fun is always a great career trajectory.
And you can tell in this one, she at one point calls the Velvet Gang, it's in the trailer, degenerate urban women, and it's the way she
Jesus is
says
a different word than women.
Yeah, urban bitches. Yeah, the way that she's, with all due respect for urban bitches. With
all due respect to urban bitches, yes.
It's the way she says urban with a hard R is so funny. Like, it's incredible. But yeah, there's a bit in the movie where Kiki Palmer's legs spin around like she's Roadrunner. It's the most movie. It's trying to be the most movie of all time. It takes inspiration from so many different kinds of movies, and it incorporates everything visually that it can.
Yeah. So there's a running bit in it where the building she's in is at a 45-degree angle.
Love it.
And that she has to, it is an entire set piece just for like, how does she get around her fucked up office where the floor is sloping and like people come in, they have to roll a cart in, and it's like just a bunch of like, not even Bugs Bunny, but just like Abbott and Costello bits, basically.
Yeah.
It's literally like that era of like slapstick. But that joke only makes sense if you know about the building in San Francisco that is disintegrating, like that is tilting. I think it's the Millennium Tower. It's just there's one fucking building that's fallen apart that at a rate that is, let's just say, unacceptable because they just did not plan that building correctly. Or even just like the idea of like shoplifting as like a cultural thing, but like in a deeply ingrained way. You know, it is about sort of the, you know, to the degree that like Sorry to Bother You is generally about work. It is very much about fashion and sort of the specific things about fashion. But it's also like, I wasn't expecting this movie to have that much claymation. There's a lot of claymation in that movie.
It's really cool too. Like there's a whole chase sequence with claymation characters. I don't even want to spoil the cameo where I screamed because I was just so happy to see him.
There's a great cameo. There's a good ass cameo.
Really good cameo.
I will say there is a usage of what I call Nutty Professor 2 the Clump style makeup. You know, that is you utilized like a fucking weapon. And like that is a style of like I will just say elaborate, like black, you know, like I want to be a overweight or weird looking or older person, you know, and it's not like
it's the school of makeup of I got too much shit on me.
Eddie Murphy.
It looks physically uncomfortable.
Yeah, the Eddie Murphy school of just looking kind of weird and like leading into that, and like Jiminy Glick's also adjacent to that. You know what I mean? It's like the artifice is very clear and you know it, and yeah, like there's a chase sequence in it that just looks like a 1960s like Toyo era Godzilla movie. And all of these things are fun. You know, they got Tune Yards to do the music because fucking why not? You know, there's a Japanther needle drop on there, which if you know what that is, you're 40. Man.
Actually, there's a great moment where they play Kick Out the Jams, which for me and my 39-year-old husband was the needle drop of the entire film.
Yeah, sure. You know, and, you know, is it like subtle? No.
Yeah. Also the clothes. Like, they're wearing this incredible outfits every time they go to boost one of the Metro Design stores. They have completely different, completely ridiculous outfits that are just a joy. It looks like everyone had a blast making this movie. And that's a quality I really love about seeing a movie, especially a movie I see in theaters. It's like, I can tell everybody was having so much fun on set. Yeah. And you can tell also a lot of the smaller effects are kind of deliberately cheap looking in a way that I find really, it reminds me of Be Kind Rewind, the Michel Gondry feature that with Mos Def, where they made a bunch of movies by making cardboard props, essentially, where it's like, how much can we do in camera? How much can we do just by reframing or having, there's a lot of stuff where it's clearly someone throwing things in from off screen, which I just love as a very simple camera effect. It's a movie that's about loving making movies as much as it is about loving collective bargaining, loving unions, hating capitalism, hating Bay Area tech bro culture, that kind of thing.
Also, a minor but I'm just gonna say this. I like Lakeith Stanfield when he gets to be fucking like nuts.
Yes.
I like when
Yes.
Lakeith
Yes.
Stanfield gets to
Yes.
be
Yes.
his true self, which is I won't say what he is in the movie, like
No,
as
but
his
it's
role.
incredible.
It's an incredible role, and I could imagine no other actor selling it that
There's
genuinely.
a line that made me cry laughing right near the end where he like has a tear coming out of his eye and he's like
I think I know the line.
Yeah.
I ugly laughed so hard.
So I like.
Is it a reference to a historical character?
No,
person?
no. It's when he's trying to beg Kiki Palmer for the last time to be with her.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he's like, and if you love me, I'll stop doing.
Oh yeah, It's very good. It's very good.
Oh my fucking god! Everyone told me that Lakeith's role in this, he's being a pure freak. A pure absolute freak. He plays a male model who mostly works at Ross Dress for Less. And that's really
amongst
good.
other things. He has a different role in it, and he has a vaguely. My favorite part is what was he reading? It was a really funny choice for a book, but she was just like talking about him.
Oh my god, no! It was Midnight Children.
But she goes, he was reading a book, like a real one, not a Kindle. Just there's like these little tiny lines that are like, I don't know. I like a thing that's sticky. I like a work that's sticky. I like that having a good time. I like having these little choices that are fun, and it's nothing but fun choices. Also, the other thing is that the conceit of the Metro design thing is that every store has to be monochromatic. Again, the cat in the hat thing. So and the funny thing about it is like every store is a single color, and if you don't like it, go to a different store. And it's like literally they change the color like it's the Mask of the Red Death every fucking month, and it just looks cool.
It makes going into these stores feel really unique and really special every time. The camera's incredible. Like, framing things and filming things is just incredible. You can make shit look like different shit so easily. They do a dolly zoom on Kiki Palmer's face while she's getting a job interview. And you just think about how incredible it is to put so much packed emotion into, like, less than a second of a shot. Essentially, like, it just makes you think about how much love it takes to make a movie and how much you really have to love movies to make a movie. Like, in a way, like, making a movie is an exercise in organized, like, collective bargaining in and of itself, because you are dealing with a lot of people who have a lot of different needs to be met and want to come together to create something beautiful. In the end, the Letterboxd review I wrote was, this is exactly 1-to-1 the experience of what it feels like to be an artist in 2026. Like, pretty much exactly.
Also, the same woman who did the cinematography for The Neon Demon did this, and I'm
my God.
I can see that. I don't like Nicholas Refn, but that movie is beautiful looking.
He makes things that look good, but I don't know if he has thoughts. You know what I mean?
I will say, have you ever seen the interview with him and the director of Cruising and he tries to like say that one of his works is on par with Citizen Kane, and he's like, well, golly, he's just like, he just tears him a new asshole.
Love to Stream, great username in chat, says about Nicholas Winding Refn. Yeah, that movie looks so good, and his thoughts are horny. Yeah,
he's fucking stupid. He's just not a good man. He's a misogynist who has 3 brain cells.
Like, everybody wants to be a writer-director these days, and if you want to be a writer-director, you better be fucking Boots Riley. It's like how I feel about it. Like, you better be just putting your fucking foot in your movie every single time. And even if the only thing you have to say is communism is good, say it. Like, say it and say it loud. Have a real idea and not, like, just nothing.
The thing about it is that I find, like, if I was trying to, there's movies I judge differently, and I'm not like grading on a curve because it's Boots Riley. I'm grading on a curve because Boots Riley is making something different. And I think part of it is that, like, Boots Riley is such a weird person to, it's a miracle that he was allowed to make anything to begin with, let alone this, let alone a TV series, let alone Sorry to Bother You. And I think that a thing that we lost with film is that the on-ramp to become the 39-year-old that makes a movie, the 45-year-old that makes a movie, is overly professionalized, and we don't let people from other backgrounds, like the guy who directed Mad Max, George Miller, he was like a trauma surgeon. You feel it in the work. Like being a musician that like has done communism, you feel it in the work. I actually really want to see Is God Is because Aisha Harris is a playwright, and like letting a playwright do something is, I mean, aside from the fact that it is like, I hate saying it, but it is crazy that there are two very black movies coming out at the exact same time. Mainly because we don't get one, let alone two. Yeah. But also like because my girlfriend really loved that play. Like, and it had a wild cantilevered stage. Oh, like sick. It was really, really unique. And like, even this is going to sound boring, but even like the Backrooms being directed by a 20-year-old, like they don't let people that young direct movies that big. Probably a good idea, but like it's interesting. It's probably the most interesting thing about the movie.
There are some, I mean, the collapse of Hollywood has some parallels to the collapse of the game dev industry. And I think, in fact, the only thing that's been keeping Hollywood in Hollywood more often than not is that they have a lot of powerful unions. And even then, there's like a lot of difficulty with the changes that have come to the film industry. Again, just basic main issue, how much money it takes to make a movie. Like, it takes so much fucking money to make a movie. So much, like, just human power, just bodies to throw at it. Many, 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 many more to make a video game, but still a lot of money and a lot of, like, bodies. And increasingly, a lot of people working in VFX, the one ununionized part of making movies at this point. Yeah. And you can see the exciting things, like that we mentioned about AA and indie games being more prominently put into the spotlight, is also true of how Hollywood works. Like, the Backrooms movie directed by a 20-year-old. Fucking Obsession is a movie that's also from the YouTube pipeline.
Which I'm critical of. I'm critical of that pipeline, because sometimes you get bad shit out of it.
Yep, we also get the Markiplier Iron Lung movie. So
I heard people like that, actually. I need to see it.
People like it. I have to see it to judge myself, but I'm very, very, very skeptical is what I'll say. Yeah. Like, as some systems break down, what you notice is like people find the little cracks in the sidewalk and burst up through. And you can also see that in this moment, having two extremely black and extremely weird black movies in theaters at the same time. That's really interesting. Point, those are not like, it's not like Girls Trip or something, which is also a great fun movie, but is a very mainstream, like, romantic comedy style movie. Or even the last Keke Palmer movie I watched, which was One of Them Days with SZA, which I thought One of Them Days was very cute. It is, I'm glad I watched it at home, because it's kind of a, like, you're home having a sleepover with your girls type movie, you know? Like, it's not necessarily go see in the theater type movie, but it's adorable. But no, this is one movie that is a revenge movie against your evil father that is very heavily religious trauma themed. And then another movie about shoplifting and communism that is like a maximalist French New Wave inspired cartoony romp. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, both of them. I mean, I maybe this is just because I think a lot of this is that, like, both of these movies, and to me, One Battle After Another, are very, like, downwind of Set It Off. And I really do think that Set It Off is this, like, fundamental text that a lot of white people don't have access to because they didn't grow up with it.
That's so true. We need to get Jordan Searles on the podcast to talk about Set It Off.
Set It Off is so fucking good.
Set It Off is so fucking good.
Set It Off is so fucking good. Like, if you would you like to see, like, all black lady, like, Heat, but with bank robberies? Fucking go watch it. It's a great movie.
Bassett.
But also Angela Bassett is so fucking good. Also, I think somebody pointed out ages ago that Willow Smith very clearly saw her mom in that movie because she dressed like the girlfriend character, the gay girlfriend with the blonde at one point, you know. But, like, these, like, it's a really weird movie and you don't see it talked about as much. And I think that, like, it's a real keystone that is invisible to a lot of people because it's an obscurity in white households, and it is just a thing everybody watched in a lot of black households.
Yep. I mean, it is one of those, like, black women sleepover movies, essentially. That picture of Angela Bassett standing in front of a car on fire is, like, it's just foundational. It's, like, one of those... It's, for me, what, like, Monsoon Wedding is also, like... But we don't have to go into the mirror and ire of it all. But if you haven't seen Monsoon Wedding, Denzel Washington has never looked more attractive than he does in that movie. He's so fucking sexy. It's, like, saying a lot, but he's, like... young, and it takes place in the South, so he's, like, sheened with sweat all the time, and there's this love scene. Oh my god, incredible shit. It should be that movie should get a Pulitzer for what I don't know, but it should get it.
And then she wwent on to have a child, and that child's name, Zoran Mamdani.
Zoran Mamdani.
That child's name was Zoran. Sorry, I just like. I like that she was in his music videos too.
It's so funny.
I think that's about where we're landing on this. Nathan, if you'd like to take us away to a third transition.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know you in particular actually had a couple games you wanted to talk about that you've been playing recently.
Yeah, I've been playing most recently 868 Back.
Yes, tell me about this.
Okay, I mean, I don't know if anyone here played 868 Hack when it came out. It was a pretty big game within a very specific subset of people. 868 Hack was a hacking game that was an iOS game, and I guess Android and Steam as well, but it was... it's like a grid-based, it kind of looked like Troggle Trouble Math a little bit. It kind of looked like a learning company game, but you were a hacker. There were the little individual programs. It was a roguelike in not just the run sense, but also like one move, everything moves at the same time kind of way. The same designer, I can never pronounce his name, Michael Bro. I apologize.
Yeah,
I've never said it out loud. Also made a game called Imbroglio, which I played... I think I have played as much as World of Warcraft.
Wow.
Because I had a rule that was self-imposed that I didn't want to keep games on my phone so that I would like read books, which is not what happened. I just ended up posting. But like I would allow one game at a time on my phone. And for a while that became Imbroglio. Imbroglio is like the follow-up to 868 Hack. And it is sort of like a more Middle Ages, kind of coded one. It's more esoteric, weird little monsters. But like, yeah, you basically have to go from one point of the map to another, and you're a little guy who's a smiley face. And then when you move in a direction, you shoot, and each of these enemies moves in a slightly different way. And you can siphon off resources around you, but if you siphon a number, it will alert that many enemies. So it's a cost-benefit analysis. The goal is to get to the 8th stage, and then 868 Back is like, okay, take that very simple concept and then complicate it. Like add little tiny things of building, and it should be, instead of just one day, it's a week and a month, and like it adds like these little tiny things. Like each stage will have a very specific thing that you can add to your build. Like, okay, this lets you warp to the other side once per round. Or it will do a thing where it's like you can burn a move by running into a wall or something like that. And each time you complete one of the 8-round stages, you can actually go to the next stage and carry one of those per round. So you can start doing build crafting, and it's a very rough game. It's very hard. But what is really nice is that the smiley face from the first game now has an eye patch and is old. He is an old... He's
like Solid
Snake. He's got an eye patch and he's old. He's visibly aged, as if to say, I'm back, baby.
The pandemic came for all of us.
2013 was a while ago. It's also building on an expansion that I think maybe some people didn't play, called Plan B, which was a 2017 expansion for 868 Hack. But it's interesting because 868 Hack was simple enough, but complex that you would need to think. It's kind of like speed chess. It's like the moves are quite fast, but you have to like consider things 3 or 4 moves ahead. And Imbroglio is definitely like that. And, you do a lot more build crafting and stuff like that. And this is taking it and just expanding it outward. It's really fun. It's really cool. It's got a very 90s look to it, and I don't even mean like in a retro way. It just feels like a game. It feels like how people conceptualized the computer in the 90s, in a kind of like programs were little guys with frowny faces kind of way. And and like the computer was a grid made of circuit boards, and like whenever you see like a CG kind of representation of computers, but just on flat, and it's so good. I really, really appreciate it. The art's really good. The music's really solid.
It just gives like Hackers the movie vibes. I don't know how to explain it, but that's what it feels like to me when I look at it.
It's very cheeky. The thing about 868 Back is that like I think there's this acknowledgement that like phone games are different now. You know what I mean? Like you can't just make the phone version of this, and it it's the perfect Steam Deck game, and I don't know if it is coming to Switch or not, but I've been playing it on my Steam Deck, and it's perfect on the Steam Deck.
That looks like it'd be so perfect to play on Switch while my husband is watching a baseball game. That sounds so good. I'm looking at it and
I think, it's not yet, there's no version of it, but I love it, and I think it's phenomenal. I believe it's out either now or tomorrow. And yeah, I'm going to have full impressions of it on the site soon, and it's just a lot of fun. I've also been playing Zero Parades. I know you played a tiny bit of it.
Yeah.
I'm curious about what the initial setup for this. What's the narrative hook for this? This is the new game from Zaum.
Yes.
Who one of the many
who made Disco Elysium, at least back in the day when the people who were primarily responsible for Disco worked there.
Yeah.
And in fairness, like there are some people who have been with Zaum who were on the Zero Parades team and who have been at Zaum since like 2017, 2016. So like there is an amount of continuity. It's not like it was totally broken.
Yeah.
When the kind of like people who Disco's their brainchild left.
Yeah, there has been a lot of confusing fallout from those people that were specifically responsible for Disco leaving the studio. In many ways, it is not at all dissimilar from the artistic strife you can see in many different kinds of collectives and art groups throughout history, especially with ones with revolutionary aims. But Zero Parades, I hear from you, Chris, that it retains that sort of socialist realist framing and the same sort of political angle to it. And I am curious. They went for a spy story this time because they didn't want to tell a cop story, is the one thing I know about this game. And I'm just curious about what's it all about.
I've been thinking a lot about Jean Le Carré, because I think that, like, if anybody's ever read any, author behind Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, The Spy Who Came Out from the Cold, and in particular, The Spy Who Came Out from the Cold, if you've never seen that movie, that's Smiley's People, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a really good adaptation with Philip Seymour Hoffman of one of the Smiley's People novels that updates it to the War on Terror. It's really fantastic.
The movie version of The Spy Who Came Out with the Cold is really good because it's Richard Burton as an alcoholic who's just like, he's been outside of it too long. And I mean, first off, I think it's worth saying, like, yeah, if you've watched 5 documentaries about Zaum and you don't want to give them money, don't. I think that's a fair thing. I think it's a fair place to go on. I think that I personally find that people's like internal divisions of what they find a company that is beyond reproach is very, very different. And it varies from person to person. And for a while, I still sort of am a little bit with like Konami, because I think Konami had gym slaves, man. Like they did fucked up stuff. But like, I'm not going to deny that Silent Hill F is one of the best Silent Hill games that is ever. Like up there with Silent Hill 2. And I think that that's where I kind of fall with this a little bit, is that like, you can acknowledge that the people who did wrong are still there. And you can acknowledge that the people who perpetuated that, you would be giving them money, but you would also be giving money to people who are workers. You would, or you would at least be benefiting the continuation of the workers who created something that I'm going to say stands on its own. And I think that it's fair to hold both of those things in your heart and to acknowledge the merit of the work. I think so much about Orson Welles. I know I've talked about this a bit, but like whenever he talked about Elia Kazan, and he's being interviewed by the French, and he'd be like, he's a fucking traitor, he's evil, he sold his soul, and then he made a movie about selling his soul. That was a confession of it. Great director, and it's just one of my favorite quotes because at his heart, he cannot be a true hater without acknowledging the validity of the work. And I think I feel
that way in life. Josh Rivera, who's a column for the site, we talked a little while about games development studios probably are more comparable to bands than to other groups of artists collectives that you'll see working with each other. And that's because people will move in and out of the project, and like that happens a lot with a lot of different bands, and they're still the same band, but they might have someone else on bass or vocals or on guitar. And like that, it's just like the project and the thing that the goal of the artistic project is the thing. But it's sort of like that quote also reminds me, like Morrissey, the Smiths, man, That shit's perfect. I love it. I love the Smiths. He's a racist. He's a
racist.
He's a
Johnny
big
Marr's
time
not.
rasists. Johnny
Marr was not. Yeah,
you know, and like, why am I denying myself the pleasure of the Smiths because of Morrissey? You know, I think about this sometimes.
You got to give Johnny Marr his flowers. He's a fucking great musician. No, I also think that like what's really interesting about the game is that it does a lot of really unique things. I think that the premise basically you are like a spy kind of called back out of these things to sort of do a job, and you're meant to meet with your partner, and you get there and he's just like fucking slumped out, catatonic on his, pants down, fucking, you don't know how he got there and it's your fault. Mm-hmm. And you were set out on a mission you couldn't win. And I think that is thematically resonant. I think there's a lot of things about this game that are thematically resonant. And I think that I think you can acknowledge the elephant in the room without making the elephant in the room the entire experience. Yes. And I think that to me, I think you need to be understanding of what these workers are trying to say with their work. There's a really good part of this game. There's a woman who is a paranoid seller and who's like, that guy up there in that tower, he's trying to spy on me. And you go and you talk to the guy, and he's a worker for Ratel, basically, which is the sort of Franco telephone operating company. I actually took a screenshot of this because I thought it was pretty good. They can't fire him because he's got like benefits and stuff like that. But what they can do is they can give him something that is worthless to do. And they're putting him in charge of a line that functionally can never be completed. And I just want to read this part of this because I quite liked it. You're saying that your boss has put you up here to drive you mad, the Phantom Line engineer. Since the last round of Ventura stabilization, they've been trying to force us lifers out. We can't be fired, not easily, but they can take away the work that made us stay there in the first place. I have two options. I could falsify my reports and declare that Line 9 is safe for construction anyway, or I could quit. Either way, the company can't lose. This is a punishment you can really savor. I'm jealous. That's a shame. You'd be in the perfect place to ponder your problems and maybe alleviate them. There's so many little tiny moments of this I like. There are these children who are sort of obsessed with what is functionally anime, and it's sort of techno-fascist anime too. They're all
obsessed with Attack on Titan.
It's an anime about having 99 or 66 wolves in your heart, and each one is different, and you really want his fake sword. And so there's just this one of my favorite missions, which is I want that and I don't know why. is very fun. So you're trying to get it from him. One of my favorite interactions, there's a music seller, and K-pop actually kind of, or whatever the equivalent of that is, Asiatic techno-fascist pop is a big part of this. And there's a guy in this who's really fascinated with this one legacy format, and he's a fucking snob about it. And it is a format with a magnet in it, so that when you play it, it erases itself. So you can only play it once. And to him, it is the ideal format. It is perfect. It is wonderful. But you don't listen to the device. Why would you listen to it? That destroys its value. But it is, he's both convinced it is optically the most perfect format. Einsengroove XR, I think is what it's called. I forget. He's both convinced it's the perfect format, but thinks it's a travesty to ever listen to. And he condescendingly refers to people who use repeatable formats as repeaters.
That's
and
funny.
And it's this condescension of collection, this taste. But then you go and you look through his albums, and they all have really shitty names. It's music by pederasts, music for pederasts. He's organized, and Herschel says this is both an act of hatred and love, the way he's categorized this music. And there are these tiny things that are just so interesting and fun about it. And actually very undisco in certain ways, spiritually very disco, but very much its own thing. And I think that, by the way, if you want a tired lesbian, you will like this game. Wearing a sort of sleeveless blouse and with a leather jacket over it. The other thing that's interesting is, though they have the sort of categorically similar but distinct 5 different skills that are checks that are individual voices in 3 different groups thing happening that disco has, there's another thing they add, which is actually quite interesting gameplay wise, which is delirium, anxiety, and fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And individual actions can give you points in those, up to 20. And if you get too much anxiety, you start acting shitty and it starts impacting your rolls. And if you hit the peak of it, the game says, you're having a panic attack. There's only one way to solve this. And that is you get shittier at one of those categories permanently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally saying, well, shit, I had a panic attack and now I'm just worse at statecraft. And the thing about it that's interesting, because I think like a lot of people who play Disco, it was easy to min-max. And that was actually, I think, a thing that if you're being sort of objective about it, that was a fault of the game. This, in order to do that, you'll often have to either smoke, drink, or, just use substances. And a lot of times they'll up one and like remove one. So like you drink, it's going to increase your delirium, but it's going to make you a little less anxious, but it'll be less, it's a net positive for you. So you're constantly juggling, like blasting cigs, drinking. And that's like kind of how a spy would approach using substances. Like I need a cup of coffee. I need a cigarette. I need to drink. And like you can kind of play Disco sober, less so this. And I think that that's really unique. Also, one of my favorite interactions I want to mention before we go, I'm still playing the game. There's a part of the game where you go up to an intercom, and the intercom is newly installed. And if you don't want to hear this, spoiler, discover it yourself. It's a newly installed intercom, and there's a single piece of plastic covering it, a sheet of that perfect plastic. And if you pull it off, it will reduce your anxiety by 2. And you just now have a shitty piece of plastic in your pocket.
That's so funny. That rocks.
Here's the best part. When you're talking to the telephone operator, who becomes a bigger character in it, you can say, hey, I tore off the piece of plastic. And then the line will go cold for a second. And she goes, can you put it back?
Oh,
and your character looks at it, it's just a big fucked up piece of plastic. And you have to go, no, I'm sorry. And she goes, this has legitimately ruined my day. And from that point on, depending on if you told her that you have fucked up the plastic, she will do one of two. She will bring it up repeatedly. If you did it and you told her, she will give up one specific lining of dialogue saying like, and also, I'm fucking mad at you for the plastic. That's really fucked up that you did that. And if you don't, she'll just be like, man, who the fuck did that? And it's different depending on the times. And I'm sorry, that's like a classic. Oh, that's so fucking good, man. They really, game's good. The game is good. The circumstances are bad. Hold 2 thoughts in your head if you have that problem, or don't play it. But I cannot, yes. I have to simply acknowledge the validity of the work, and the validity of the work is good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I frequently find myself at odds with juggling my emotional reaction to a situation that is extraneous from the work to the work itself. I think this is like a difficulty of criticism, of the act of criticism. There are some cases in which I find those 2 things inextricable from each other. Hogwarts Legacy was mentioned in chat, and like, this is a different situation than Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy came from a studio that was basically making tie-in games for Cars. The movie Cars, and then started making a game for the most evil woman alive. And the game itself does nothing to try to extricate the attempts that it makes to try to extricate itself from J.K. Rowling's politics only makes her politics feel even more oppressive in their presence in the game, right? This is a different situation in which a really complicated set of combination of hurt feelings, serious labor problems, and ideological differences, which are all different things, collided with each other and created a big mess in terms of the continuity from one project to the studio to the next project of the studio. Does this mean that the game is bad? It sounds like no. And that's
personally.
Just for Chris, it sounds like no. And like, when you are in our position as critics, finding what is in the game and what's not in the game is honestly sometimes really hard.
Yeah. I think that like the thing I find, I was saying like critiques of the thing holding up the thing up to its own morals, or critiques of it being within like the shadow of Disco. And I also think like, I was joking, but there is a bit of a you do need to not move on, but like, and I don't want to diminish that element of it. It does feel like some people get stuck on Disco Elysium, in the same way that people get stuck on like Mark Fisher. And nobody's saying Mark Fisher's bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody's saying that.
Disco Elysium. Yeah, Mark Fisher's the god. There's a reason he fucking sticks around. But you have to read a second book sometimes. And like for me, I actually really do have hope in the people who got ousted from Zone. I hope that all of them make their game, make their thing.
The fact that there's like 4 or 5 competing disco successors is the most disco thing that could possibly be.
It's the most disco thing possible, It's just like, and I think that like, it would be funny if this is the one that did it the best. I think that would be like kind of sad in certain ways. But I think that like, you do have to sort of, or don't. I mean, like, whatever. There's some people I know who don't play Marathon because of fucking how weird Bungie has been. You know what I mean? And I respect that. Between you and who you are, like, I'm not a cop, and I'm not saying, I'm not like going to monitor what's on your hard drive. Like, whatever your ethics are, I think, are what should be dictating your life. And if you thought about it, then guess what? You've done more than 99% of the people.
That's so fucking true. That's so true.
If you have thought about what the consequences of your consumption, that is a really good first start.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, with that said, I think it's time to move over to the mailbag.
Because we're streaming for the last time, can I just show everyone when Destiny shut down, my statue of the crow was slated to arrive at my home. And now he's here.
Oh,
Look
buddy.
at him. He's my friend.
I feel so sad about that, too.
Yeah, all the voice actors have been posting little messages in character. I just made me really miss Lance Reddick. But I've just been looking at him every day and thinking, he's my friend. I give him a little pat on the head when I sit down to do my blogs. But let's move on to the mailbag. Okay, we're done.
Yeah. Anyway, if you would like to contribute to the mailbag, you can do so by subscribing to the website at our member tier, which costs $10. And that gets you access to the Discord, which is where the mailbag lives. And then you can contribute questions every week and also hang out with people and talk about video games and many, many, many other things.
If you like Marathon, we have the second season of Marathon starting like next week. And we have a very active Marathon community in our Discord, which I love them. I think they're really cool.
There's a fucked up thing in one of the most recent trailers that had 2 left hands. And I'm like, what the fuck's that?
Yeah. Get ready. They're going to do some freaky shit next season. But yeah, another good reason to join the Discord.
Yeah. All right. From Jack. The Pope has made a complex series of moral arguments around AI this week. Which recent technology should His Holiness grapple with next? I think you should go back to his origins. The bean in Chicago. What's in there? It's time for us to finally find out.
Pope's going to find out what's in the bean.
Yeah.
Well, he was also dealing with a Ferrari, which I thought it's very funny whenever you have to do that as the Pope. Mm-hmm. Whenever they show the Pope a fancy car, and he's like, ooh. And it's funnier when it's not an Italian Pope, because the Italian Pope kind of knows how to deal with that. But it's like, we've had several not Italian popes, and so just a guy from Chicago being like, oh, this is nice, I guess. All right, bye. It's very, very funny. For the car that Luke hated, because Johnny Ive has designed it.
It's an ugly car.
I don't like it. I know some people who like it. It looks like that fucked up Mac mouse.
Let's see. From Treethan. With Mina the Hollower releasing, I'm curious what everyone's favorite modern pixel art game is.
I started playing recently just to have something to do on my Switch while David watches baseball. We're in baseball season. I started playing recently Octopath Traveler, and a lot of the time it's just marveling at how beautiful the pixel art and the tilt shift effect looks in that game. It's a mechanically interesting, not very deep Japanese RPG. And I like those, so I'm not complaining about any of that. But like frequently, it's just like they make these little sets for you to walk in on, and I'm just like, oh, that's nice. Look at the lighting effect.
I hear Octopath Zero is really good because I bounced off.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I've heard I bounced off of the original Octopath because I felt like it just felt redundant in ways that I didn't like. I mean, not to glaze them too much, but the Live Alive remake is probably one of the best single remakes aside from Final Fantasy Tactics. I mean, like, that's the thing that's always very funny is when Square's good, they're really fucking good. You know what I mean? And where Square Enix is really good at that stuff. And when they let them do that, and I think that style is very good. I am curious about, what is it? The fucking Adventures of Elliot.
Yeah.
That game's coming out, I
yet
think,
another
June.
incredibly named game from Square.
It looks like you're some manner of. Anytime I see a guy with a red hat and a cloak as the lead, I'm like, is this a red mage? What's going on here?
It looks like you're some manner of red mage, yes.
I love a red
Freaking
mage.
Elliot. I don't know. Elliot's just hanging out. He's having adventures, guys. This really cracked me up. It's the adventures of Elliot. You know Elliot. He's having adventures.
Yeah. Classic Elliot.
Classic Elliot. Elliot's always doing this. He's always having an adventure.
Fucking Square has 5 million games that they have never promoted in their life and that are all really good in the last few years. I need to play Octopath Zero. I've been getting off my ass in the Tales games.
Yeah. All right, let's see. From Mish. What's your favorite niche game of all time? Nothing that's ever been GOTY or been on a top/popular game list in any genre.
I guess I can't count my usual go-to answer, which is Dwarf Fortress, because it's been my GOTY several times for several years. God. Mystic Messenger does things with being a cell phone game that so many other games you play on your cell phone don't do. That is such a fascinating game, and I think people kind of forgot about it because it's like incredibly gimmicky. But that's a game where people call you. People call you on that game, and it rules. Niche games, though, man. I mean, Dwarf Fortress is the game that I would say for this normally, but I've put it on my own GOTY. Does it count? Because it's always Dwarf Fortress. That's always a game that is going to be too much for most people, but is exactly enough for me. I love that game. It's my baby. It's my child.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm still looking.
Yeah, you're still thinking. You're looking at your Steam library and being like, what the fuck is in there? Yeah, all three of us.
What do I like anymore? I don't even know anymore. I'm sorry. Can I also just say, I forgot entirely that the setting for the Millennium Tales, The Adventures of Elliot, is like Philadelphia.
Yes, that's right. As opposed to Philadelphia. Yeah. That was the meme when it first was announced. Everyone was like, Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. He lives in Philadelphia. Yo, you got any water magic? You know.
I'm sorry, I laughed so loud. Ella wants to leave the office now. So sorry, Ella.
Just you go to the Wawa to get materia.
You see a robot, just beat the shit out of it.
Just beat the shit and fucking beat him with batteries.
Yeah.
Throwing materia at fucking Switchbot or whatever.
I could also say Cruelty Squad. We talk a lot about that game, though. Cook Serve Delicious 1, 2, and 3 are also that is a game I could play in any circumstance. It makes me lock in like no other thing has made me lock in before. Typing out the keybinds for making lasagna, or even like the controller support. I love playing it on Switch because the controller support is really, really clever. And it makes making things really easy and really fast. And you can, I love Cook Serve Delicious. That is an ADHD game, and I love it.
I was also going to say, similar to that, I've been waiting for a 1.0 release, but Psycho Patrol R just like changed me a little bit, and I think that I'm really excited for what that game is. Yeah, you know, it got me to read Willem Reich.
Wow, love it when a game makes you read a book. I love that.
Yeah, and a book that I really liked too.
Let's see. I'll go with did either of you play Wildermyth back in the day?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's a kind of procedural storytelling based like tactics RPG, and it has all these mechanics where like major decisions alter your characters like midway through a run, or like transform them, like beastify them, do all these things to them that like change them irreparably. And then also over time, like, you know, your characters can then like pass down traits to new characters.
Oh, I love
or like
that.
have kids effectively.
I should play this. I play the fuck out of this.
And like then you can like, oh yeah, it's really, really cool. And like you just, you know, depending on a run or depending on like which story path you choose, you never know quite what's going to happen. And oftentimes it will be filled with like ups and downs, you know, big triumphs, and then disappointments where like a character will again be altered in a way that's not necessarily good for them. And you will have to like deal with the ramifications of that. Characters build little bonds over time. They're little like spoken, like kind of comic book style vignettes where they talk to each other. And like sometimes you'll have these parties that just everyone coheres and it all clicks and you make it through something relatively easily. And you're like, yeah, that was great. And other times like people hate each other and they're super at odds. And like, yeah, it's really good.
That sounds incredible.
It's a really cool game.
Hell fucking yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
You know, it's a good one that I played really, really early on, like pre-release when it was in an alpha, and it really stuck with me. And eventually it came out, and then it came out for Switch, and it's like $7.49 on Switch right now, is Vagante. Vagante was a really interesting kind of like roguelite, like puzzle platformer with like RPG elements to it. It like kind of had a Final Fantasy look to it. You know, it reminded me of the platform where the guy, the little baby guy, looks like Indiana Jones. Spacing out right now.
But Spelunky.
Yeah, it's sort of like more role playing Spelunky in certain ways. And it's a really nice little game that is cheap as heck, and I really, really enjoyed a lot of. I don't know if it was a goatee, but it's one of those ones where it's like, hey, yeah, I remember that.
All right, let's see. From Saint of Penguins. Now that the Steam controller has been revived and vindicated, what's one other weird peripheral that should be given a second, more modern chance?
VMU.
Hell yeah, from the Dreamcast.
Just fucking off the dome, VMU. It's like, they were correct. Memory cards should also be Tamagotchi. The idea of keeping having a parallel game that's small.
Here's an idea. Tied in specifically with the Steam controller, the SteamU.
Oh, brother. I don't want to throw tomatoes at you for that one, but it's coming close. It's coming close.
I feel like, what would a device like that look like? And I think the only company that could get away with it is Nintendo. Like Nintendo, that is bullshit that exclusively Nintendo could get away with, which is this like weird other device that is optional. Cause like, there was that one for Final Fantasy that like, there was a PlayStation VMU, I want to say, that worked for like, as like a chocobo racing game. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, I vaguely remember something like this.
The Pocket Station, that's what it was. Yeah, like we should bring back little baby companion devices that only work with some games.
Yeah, there was for the Pikachu Pokemon Yellow, there was a little Pikachu Tamagotchi that came with the game where if you
the Pokemon Pikachu, it didn't come with the game. It was a separate thing that you could buy.
Okay.
And I remember this because I had one and was obsessed with it as a kid.
It went through the washing machine for me, so my Pikachu died, is what I'll say.
Yeah, because you had to shake it in order to build up wattage for your Pikachu.
Yeah.
And so while mine did not go through the washing machine, that was a hack, is you just put it on top of the washing machine, bounces around.
Mine was in my pants pocket when I put my pants in the laundry, and then my dad washed my pants, and that's the end of Pikachu. Pikachu, goodbye.
Something that I think a lot about is like Metal Gear on the PSP, and like these, Boktai, these like really different ways of interacting with games that I think that like we don't do as much anymore. I mean, you sort of do it with cell phones. I mean, like Pokemon Go, but that's like just that's just a cell phone thing. That's not a real thing. And like these external lives that like games can live in the real world that aren't just like telemetry data, that are like either an alternate device or even like Street Pass you don't do as much anymore. Like,
I miss
like
Street
local
Pass.
Wi-Fi. Street Pass was so
I
fucking
worked
good.
at a museum while I did Street Pass, and I worked as a cashier. Oh my God, I was getting amazing Street Passes every day. It was awesome. It ruled. It was so much fun to play my DS and like play it on the bus to and from work, essentially. Because I'd get to check all my fucking Street Passes when I got home. And I was so good at the Street Pass RPG. Anyway, that kind of stuff, that kind of passive social stuff is what I really like about handheld systems, especially.
Yeah, and it's been sort of homogenized in a way that I think everyone has felt, but like it's hard to articulate.
Yeah. All right, from Bent Bob. A new expansion for The Witcher 3 was just announced. What older games do you wish to see the developers or fans make a whole new story-driven expansion pack for?
Is it cheating to say Destiny 2?
Hey.
I mean, a little bit, right?
That'd be cool if the tools got turned over to the fans.
It would be, because there's one of the things that made Destiny appealing to play before I started playing it was the amount of like work fans did to make the story legible and interesting. And I'd love to see just any of the like video making tools that they have in the game. If they could make them legible to fans to continue telling stories about their own Guardians, that would be fucking sick. I think it would also be incredible. Fallout New Vegas. I don't want any of those people working on that game anymore.
Nope.
But I don't want more Fallout. I want specifically more Fallout New Vegas.
More New Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we take away some Fallout 4 too? Can we have less Fallout 4 in the
Absolutely.
process?
Yeah.
Just suck it out.
Undo Fallout 4 and feed it into Fallout New Vegas.
Exactly.
Makes the
somehow.
game shorter.
Transfer
No.
energy.
It's actually, the thing about, and I've said this before, I know, but like the DLC for Fallout 4 is really good, and I think that like there's this element of like the Cyberpunk DLC is so much fucking better than the main game, like just infinitely better written.
Oh
and
my
I think
God.
that like that's often the case,
So
and it's
true.
like there's like Avowed is actually sort of similar. It's just like just make the whole game the fucking DLC. Just make it start with and the reason why people like New Vegas a lot of the times is because it feels like the whole thing is DLC.
It does.
You know, it feels it's an interesting, weird, smaller stakes thing that blows up bigger, but like it's a really great way to frame it. And I think that like, you know, when people take like an engine and a system that's already there and then just like let someone take it. I'm actually curious because what is it? Fool's Theory is the name of the company that's making the new DLC.
The new Witcher, or they're
Yeah.
co-developing it with CD Projekt. Yeah.
But like just the idea of like you get to have fun with something that's like whose parameters are defined. And that's like when Ubisoft was doing really fun stuff with Assassin's Creed, that was what it was good at. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I wish more people were allowed to have fun and take swings with these things. And having new DLC feels like a way to just like let a freak. Like the Doom community. Like that's what the Doom community is. It's just here's the most well-known open source thing possible. Fucking run with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a complete game and doesn't need more, but I would love like more in the Pyre universe.
Yes.
That'll always be something that I hold on to.
You and me,
keep near and dear to my heart.
Pyreheads forever. That game is
Yeah.
so good. If that game got a DLC, I'd play it immediately. I love that game.
Yeah. No, I think I mentioned the idea of a sequel to it. Yeah, I did when I was at DICE earlier this year to Greg Kasavin, and he just sort of laughed.
Come on. Don't they know that their incredibly huge audience of you and me are sitting there waiting for more news from Pyre?
There are fewer than dozens of us.
There's two of us. Two.
Yeah. All right, let's see. From Mr. Gaddy T. As an excuse to hear everyone's contrarian side, what are some games, films, or media more generally that you respect intellectually that is popular among your friends or people who you normally have similar taste as, but that you simply couldn't personally connect with for whatever reason? So it's good, people like it, but it just wasn't quite for you in particular.
Most of this stuff just vanishes from my brain immediately. So I have to think about this for a second.
I'm on the record as hating Arrival. I think that movie sucks.
Okay, the thing about that movie is that I thought it was good when I watched it, and then I read the short story, and all the changes they've made to the short story to make it a movie make it a worse story. Like, much worse.
Story.
Way
Almost
worse.
like the filmmaker's a hack. My attitude is that it uses linguistic relativism in a way that, first off, I hate linguistic relativism. I hate the idea that like you're magic now that you know Martian. Stranger in a Strange Land is it's an evil book written by a guy who may or may not have had a three-way with L. Ron Hubbard. And also Charles Manson's favorite book for a reason. Everything where it's like, I learned Martian and I'm smart now. But also it takes away the agency of the main character, and she has to marry Jeremy Renner, which is a fate I would not wish on anyone.
That's a fate worse than death. Yeah.
It simplifies her as a scientist to someone who must give birth in a way that I find is...
The relationship between the daughter and the mother in the short story is just fathoms more interesting because they have... The girl doesn't die as a little girl. She dies as a fully adult person who sometimes clashes with her mother and who her mother feels like she doesn't understand. Which says more about the nature of language and relationships than what the movie says.
That movie made me think I hated Ted Chiang, and then I read Ted Chiang's other works, and I'm like, no, I just fucking hate this movie.
Ted Chiang's short story is so good. It's so good. And they made a baby, like the Barney version of it, essentially.
Yeah. Which is a shame because I liked that movie halfway through. I was like, this is really good. I love Contact, so I might as well love this. And then like Contact ended up being the more fully formed movie to me. Like Contact actually does say a lot more about,
Are you excited for Disclosure Day? I'm interested.
I'm excited for whatever old Uncle Steve decides to. All of the scenes in that trailer where it's like clearly a dream sequence that vaguely looks like AI, but I know it's not because he wouldn't do that at this point, look like a CG thing you would do for like a CG bear who's doing sleepy time tea. It's a very weird looking movie, and I'm excited to see what he's got left in him.
What the fuck is he doing? The Fablemans
What is
interesting,
still up
but
there?
Yeah, I'm curious. I guess thinking about it, I know every Black person listening to this, and I had to bite my tongue about this opinion, like in real life, rather recently, like last week.
Mhm.
It's not that I think Paramore or Hayley Williams are bad. It's just...
Oh, no, you're entering dangerous territory.
It's just not my shit. She's an incredible singer. She's an incredible songwriter. A song by Hayley Williams came up on random on Shuffle the other day for me. I just didn't connect to it at that time. Like, it just passed me by. And then also, like, I can often tell what their musical signposts and influences are quite clearly. And I'm always like, you know what? I'd rather listen to Adam and the Ants instead of Paramore at this moment. It's not bad. No beef with Paramore. Absolutely no beef. I'm just not invested like how other Black people are, right? Black
and
people
there's going to
are...
be a bunch of YouTube videos. Aftermath is beefing with Paramore.
Canceled. I can't help it. This came up in real life after my Pilates class last week. 2 other Black women talking about how much they love Paramore, and I'm like, yeah, she can really sing. She's a great singer. No, it's just not. I was listening to really heavy stuff at that time, and it just passed me by. Yeah, that's all. I missed the moment.
Yeah. Well, there are many things on which the entire staff of Aftermath does not agree, and this is one of them.
It's not bad.
Paramore and Hayley Williams are great, and the new solo album is some of Hayley Williams' best stuff ever.
Yeah, I think the new solo stuff is really great. I feel like she, to me, is just someone who's observing from a distance, from a distant vantage point. Like, I'll listen to this album once and then probably never again. Most creative she's ever been. I feel so glad that she's been finally set free from all those other men. I know that they like love her and now they love being a band. But another thing that turned me off from Paramore in the beginning was hearing that they auditioned basically every man they could find and auditioned all of those men before they let Hayley be in the band. I was like, you dumb bitches are pieces of shit. Like, why did you do that? Why'd you make her do that?
They were also incredibly stupid teenagers at a very different time.
Yeah,
but,
they originated as sort of a Christian band, so I imagine a lot of their politics have changed. And I know one of them like left the band because a lot of them became more progressive and he stayed a conservative Christian type. So
I mean, a thing that I do appreciate them is that they have somewhat publicly grappled with some of the more pernicious parts of their legacy. Refusing to sing certain songs outright for a while. And then then instead of doing that, being like, okay, we're going to sing the song. But just so you know, we're going to talk about where it came from, which is better than a lot of artists, I think, at least really popular artists end up doing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly can't think of anything right now. I tried.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, 2 of your coworkers are brave and you're not. I see.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nathan, him with perfect taste, unblemishable opinions.
Not just perfect, but also popular.
Wow.
Really,
Everyone agrees.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone agrees. Nobody disagrees with his perfect take.
All right. Lastly, from Mectroid. With the podcast streams coming to an end, Mectroid.
Sorry, I know. She's here?
With the podcast streams coming to an end, a final question. Ignoring language barriers, which historical figure do you think would be the best guest on the Aftermath podcast?
Lenin.
I'd kill to see Chris show off all his gadgets to an excited Nikola Tesla.
Vladimir Lenin.
Just talk...
Marx.
Talk about his pigeons.
We could talk about Marx. We could talk about beautiful women with angles. Just get a little toasty and talk about how much we love busty barmaids.
We could talk to Marx about the Xiaom and Disco Elysium controversy.
I think Marx would be so fascinating.
What do you think about this?
Yeah. And they're big fans of yours, too.
Why do you keep showing me these documentaries? Also, what are movies?
Marx would be able to pick the true successor to Disco Elysium. Marx would be correct.
He has so many good opinions about the proper way to engage with art.
I mean, he's also just a poster. He had to invent a newspaper for himself to be a poster. So maybe he'd have a lot to say about running an independent media outlet as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also, in chat, Professor Bunn brought up something that also, Gita, you won't agree with, so we can keep going on this one. And it's kind of counter to the previous question. But a thing that I like that other people vociferously dislike is at least one of their albums, Sleep Token.
I'm always
Yeah.
willing to hear that a band I don't like has a song or two or even an album that is fine. The more recent stuff that I've just heard in passing from Sleep Token has been real get this shit off my screen energy for me. Like personally.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is like, so their most popular album, Take Me Back to Eden, is a good album. I Will Die on This Hill. It's just a like fun fusion of modern pop and metal. And people like taking this weird umbrage to it, like it's the most insulting or like bad thing they've heard in their life, is bizarre to me. Like it's melodically coherent and like it sounds nice. It has a bunch of nice piano. Like if they had not blown up in the way that they did and like worn costumes and, you know, been vaguely self-serious, people would be like, yeah, sure. Cool album.
I think you're probably
but instead,
right,
like people needed a thing to pillory. They needed this target for their misgivings in the way that always happens online now. And so, like, it always bothers me when, especially music critics, are like, "This is a travesty. I can't believe this exists." It's like, man, whatever. People mashed up some genres. Like that happens all the time. It's just music now.
Yeah.
Chill.
I mean, I went back and I listened to, I do this like once a month at this point. I listened to The Shape of Punk to Come by Refused. I got it on vinyl. I have it on my MP3 player. I was talking about it in the context of some art that I was making. And that is an album that fully wants to engage with popular European dance music trends of the time, which involves some like techno and EDM influences, and also jazz in a really, really cool and interesting way. What is Radiohead other than an indie rock band that got really into jazz fusion? Like that's essentially what happened to them. I don't have any problem with Sleep Token's experiments into other genres. And I do think like the metal blog, like Revolver guy stereotype of the kind of guy who hates Sleep Token, that's boring to me. Like, hate Sleep Token for any other reason. Most of the arguments against Sleep Token are actually about Sleep Token fans. Like,
well, also all the prog metal nerds used to love them until they got big. Like, Take Me Back to Eden is the album that blew up. When that album first came out, people were losing their minds over how much they fucking loved it in like the prog metal subreddit and stuff.
That's so funny.
Now they all pretend like they hate Sleep Token.
That's so
but it's
funny.
Like, no, you motherfuckers did not back then.
Yeah.
And it's also like, I don't know, every problem that people have with this band can be mapped onto other metal bands. Like, their lyrics are dumb. Yes. Have you listened to metal before?
Any metal before? Yeah. Most metal is like a guy saying something slowly, like one sentence slowly for the whole song. That's
right. Or it's just like incredibly cheesy or overwrought. It's always overwrought.
Or it's about Lord of the Rings.
Right. I mean, that's going back as far as fucking Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's all just, again, I think that people, and this is something that I think the modern internet has really revealed to us, or that the modern internet incentivizes, which is simply that people often enjoy getting mad at a thing more than they enjoy liking a thing, especially in large groups. And so you just have these moments where it's like, okay, here's our sacrificial lamb. Let's all plunge our knives into it. But I don't think that's necessarily a healthy way to engage with anything, because you get this outsized impression of how terrible something is, when in reality it's just like, yeah, it exists and some people like it and other people don't. And at the end of the day, it comes out in the wash.
I think that a phrase more people should internalize also from the internet, it's useful. It's that bitch eating crackers. And it's when you like passively dislike someone, but they're not doing anything wrong. So you just look at them and you're like, I'm so irritated. Look at that bitch. She's fucking eating crackers like a bitch over there. Like, you know, you can think that. You can take it to the group chat. You can complain about it. There's no reason to create a moral justification for not liking the bitch over there eating crackers.
Right.
They're just eating crackers. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're mildly annoyed by them and you try to build that into something bigger than it is, when in reality it's just like, no, I had like an irrational impulse about something for a second and now it's time to get on with my day because there are 9 million more important things happening.
Yeah, I don't like the music of Taylor Swift. You know how I solved this problem for me, given how ubiquitous she is across popular culture? Muted the words Taylor Swift and Swiftie on all social media platforms I use. I go days without hearing about her. It doesn't matter anymore. Just doesn't matter. Yeah. It's very much you choose the buttons that you press, right? Like, you choose what you put in your brain. Don't put your face in the fire hose of misery every day.
Tyler, the Creator, was right about many, you know, his wisdom applies to many things.
Yeah, you can just turn off the computer, just close your eyes, like, do something else. It's, you do really choose the buttons that you press. You absolutely do.
Speaking of, I think that's probably it for our show. I think
Yeah, I think
people
so.
can now choose to press the button that takes them away from
that one's
twitch.television.
Tomato. That's me throwing tomatoes at Nathan.
Well, yeah, but I mean, especially one last time, because again, this is the last episode of the podcast that we're going to record live on Twitch. And so normally this is the part where I'd say that we do this every week at a specific time, but that won't be happening anymore. We will be pre-recording episodes from now on. We're going to do it a little bit earlier in the week, see how that goes, see how it suits all of our schedules, all of that. But in any case, we will be back in podcast form next week, just not on Twitch.
Yeah, and if you want to send us questions to the mailbag, it's all mailbag questions are going to come from the Discord. So do join up for the Discord if you want to send us some questions to answer on air.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I mean, again, nothing's really changing except for that the live component won't be there anymore.
Yeah.
We'll probably use the Twitch channel for something else in the future. We'll see.
Yeah.
But in any case, thank you to everyone who tuned in. We'll be back next week. And until then, have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.